So, the goddess Athena, the great warrior goddess, said to be the great Greek goddess, and this is a 41-foot statue of her. You would think this 41-foot statue of Athena, the Greek goddess, would be in Greece, maybe even Rome, because they did adopt her. You'd be wrong. This statue of Athena is in the great state of Tennessee, in a little town called Nashville. Yeah, and this is inside a Parthenon, as they say, an exact replica of the Parthenon in Greece. This has taken me on an amazing journey. Truly has. I'm definitely not ending up where I thought I'd be, but I'm amazed that I am here. So this is carrying on with my theme of of the of the now beyond the pale fact that the Latins left the Western Latin Empire, left Europe, and went to the far side of Mexico to lead a peaceful life. It seems they're surrounded by villages in the map of where they are. Let's pull that up. We'll go over here and pull it up on one of these guys. Yeah, they're doing some new digs in Rome. I definitely don't have the proper tag. Let's see, got you. That's where you are. And you know what? These lives that I'm doing are investigations. You're part of the investigation now. You're part of the investigation process. And so, in the recordings that I'm making, it's documenting the research that I'm doing. So we're basing all of my theory, not basing, but it started here, and it's definitely the far side of Mexico, the Pacific side, all the ports on the Pacific side. The language, two of them, Natahul, Natahual, Natahual, and bureaucratic Greek. Okay, and that was I was able to pinpoint that due to some research that I did. Okay, I was able to base that on some research, and this is what we know. So the word that they use for mine in the map is an ancient bureaucratic um, tag for mines. So we can base that, and then all of the language is Latin or Nahul. There's not a drop of Spanish in that map, and it's on the far side. Latin, supposedly by the time of Columbus, was a long dead language for 1,000 years, not used in Europe, except for clergy, medicine, and biology, or sciences. The things that the people in control wanted to keep out of the lay people, well, they just put Latin tags on it, and everything was just suddenly out of reach of the normal lay person. But we've been able to translate a lot of places on this map, and we have been able to um, ascertain that this is all Latin. Again, a long dead language. And these are the mines. Vis montibus maxima Argentini copia exorditibus. And what turned me on to the whole thing was the name of the map. I saw Nova Hispania and Nova Galicia. I didn't pay attention too much to the et until one day I was just in my languages and I saw Nova Hispania et Nova Galicia. And when I said it out loud, that's when it hit me because in the Basque language, et or eta is also and. If this was Spanish, it would be Nueva España y Nueva Galicia. But it's not. It's Nova Hispania without the little squiggly line over the top um, of the N. And uh, and if you have anything to say in the chat is open. You're welcome to come on in. Love to have you there. So yeah, if you do Nova Hispania, Latin. If you do Nova Galicia, well, Galicia has been a long, long standing description of the territory that I'm in, Galicia. Okay, so when the Latins arrived, this was already named Galicia. So it's a long standing name, and it just carried over to here in Mexico. And so what we see in Mexico are these large stone cities with cathedrals. And if you go to Guadalajara and look up stuff in Guadalajara, you will see that it's got cathedrals, it's got old Roman buildings, Roman style. So if you go to these places and have the right eye, and once you see it, it can't be unseen. Once you see it, it can't be unseen. So yeah, these are red and they have gold dots on them. That is not original to the map, and there's several versions of this map out there. This one's a different style. So the person that put the red and put the gold knew what they were doing. So this is one that doesn't have all of that. And as we zoom into Compostela, then you can see fully a integrated city with walls and redoubts, but also doors, entry points with neighbors, lots of neighbors. So I would have to say that the Latins were peaceful. Purificatio, purification of some kind. Again, a fully built out city with a massive tower. That's Roman style building. This is powerful stuff, my friends. And mare, definitely your Latin language. So with this, we've seen in other maps where they go ahead and begin to colonize the rest of, let's see, I'm looking for a map. They colonize the rest of the Americas. And that's why it has the term Latin America. That's why the book is Latin America. Understanding that it comes from Latin. It doesn't come from Spanish. If this was discovered by the Spanish, it would be España America or America España or Nueva España. But it's not. It's Latin America. And here we have an important date. So, Antili detectar por from Colombo, año 1492. And here we have Antilles, and here we have Cristofel. So this is where Columbus landed. Now, here is the big question. Because this 1492 may not necessarily be our 1492, 500 years ago. Okay, we are in Rome's year 2778. So I bet that date is tied into this map and not our modern dating. So this is more than 1,000 years ago, and that makes sense. If the Spanish, started coming here 1,200 years ago, so give or take, then yeah, it puts a big difference in how this all plays out, and then that makes all of this work. That gives the Latins time to set everything up for as a new as the old world people start to come over, act like, yeah, it's always been like this, man. And the English came from the Americas and spread over to Great Britain. There's no doubt about that. Now, in doing research yesterday, I was lucky enough. Let me see. I saved this picture. I was lucky enough to find this. This is beautiful. This graphic is beautiful and gives me a date as to when all of this started. And um, this is Western Rome, the yellow. And then this is Eastern Roman Empire. Now, the succession, Gallic Empire succession, 260 274, a massive breakaway state including Britain, Gaul, and Spain that split from Rome to defend itself until Emperor Aurelian reconquered it. So that's what happened in the year 260 AD. We don't know if it's 260 AD. I think it's 260 Roman Empire. So this all that builds out, if it's 270, if it's actually year 2778, and this happened in 2074, I mean 274, well, that's 2,500 years to go ahead and build out as they did. So these are the three countries that break out and move over to the Americas. Now they're saying Gaelic Empire, and I don't think it's the Gauls here. These are the Gauls, AUL. The Gaelic Empire is here, where my hand is, my little computer hand is. If you can't see, let me get it bigger on the screen. But right here, in the upper left-hand corner of Spain, is the Gaelic Empire. And our community, Galicia, still has a crown in its shield. And historically speaking, we were the first royalty. We were the first crown of all of Europe, even before Great Britain. So where I sit has a lot of hidden fame. Thank goodness. And for me, it's fascinating, fascinating, fascinating. So let's take another look at our other map because we have the British Empire, the French Empire, and the Gaelic Empire, the Iberian Empire, which includes Portugal. All right. So I believe that when they came over and first started putting down roots here, probably around zero their year, Roman year. So the Latins, the Western Empire, the Gaelic Empire had been doing this for quite a while to set up the sneak away over here and get away from the mess that was the Eastern Roman Empire. Famously, Constantine did not stay in Rome because he said it was a cesspool, and that's why he built his strong defensive fortress in the in Constantinople, which is now Istanbul. So I think that the um, Hispania and Galicia from the original map conquered all of the Central American area. Then the British Romans, Latins, moved over here to what we call the 13 colonies, the original Americas, which this consists of. Nova Francia, this is where the French ended up, in Canada. Okay? Big, big thing. And we have the lakes here, all perfect. Lacus Iri. Lacus. Who would have said that back then? Why spend all the money and have such level of detail and measurements and then waste it in Latin when nobody in the world can read it back then? No, this has a different story to it. These are Latin maps made by Latins, and as the Europeans began to come over, they reconditioned everything for the new arrivals and integrated themselves with the new arrivals. So among the original Americans over there are many Latins. They just don't have the memory of it because we've been re-educated thanks to the Roman Catholic Church, Jesuits, and wherever they couldn't re-educate, they brought in poverty and ignorance. So this has been going on for a while until today. Because remember, the City of London Corporation, or the City of London, which sits in London itself proper, square mile area, was founded by the Romans in 46. I don't know if it's 46 our year. I'm going to say it's 46 their year. So the Americas, Europe, is a lot older than we understand. And these stone buildings, these amazing stone buildings throughout Europe, are just um, old, older than we take for granted. And the pink Ludwigsiana, Visiana, which could be Louisiana, or it could be I won the game, and it's in pink. And I don't know what that means. I do pretty much think that uh, the yellow are the original islands, the original the original three to escape and come set up this new world for them away from Eastern Europe and Eastern Rome was right here on the Central America, and then the American the 13 colonies area, and I think they built out there, and they were able to defend themselves, keep people away. First of all, through technology and the lack of that Europe had, and then second by quote unquote pirates, and the pirates were off obviously the Latins, trying to keep the Europeans away as long as possible, although they knew it was going to happen eventually, because we multiply. We multiply, we multiply, we multiply, and we're curious. And the other thing is, there was a lot of silver and gold coming into Europe. Nobody knew where. There's here they think that we had tons of silver and gold mines in Spain, and there's no sign of one of them. There's no sign of mining in Spain that I've uh, taken note of or is celebrated for the vast quantity of silver and gold that was coming. It got so bad in Spain that silver for a while was literally worthless because everybody had it and there was no means of exchange. When everybody has all the money, there is no need to work. So there was a little bit of a collapse in Spain for a while because everybody just had piles of silver. It literally became worthless. Wild, yeah. So that's how much they were mining out of the Americas and sending over to the European royalty and European banks, and just to keep everything over there for as long as possible. And then the Freemasons, which Freemason in French is franc-maçon, which is literally a free house, they were charged, I believe, with the distribution of property as people were moving in and controlling the business environment so that nobody really knew what was happening and what had happened. And would certainly never get to the level where I am right now, um, telling the story. But what we do have is just a massive thing that they couldn't get rid of. And that's this Parthenon. And it is a massive building and it's in a massive area. Um, but what is interesting, before we go into it too much further, is this. Look at that. So, whenever this was taken, they had hot air balloons, and this looks like to be an artist rendering in a hot air balloon of what. Ooh, I just saw something interesting. Of what Nashville looked like during the time of the Latins living here peacefully. I mean, you just see peaceful living here. And the one thing that we see here that just caught my eye, that tells us more that it is a Roman facility. We have a Roman circus, a Roman track, a horse track. That is not something the Americas would have had like that in that time. And I even had AI try to tell me that no, 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 no. This is an artist's idea of what it's going to look like, and then it was built out um, in the 1800s. And I thought to myself, you got to be kidding me. You think we could build that in the 1800s when let's see here. When this is our level of technology, right? This is our level of technology in the 1800s, 1897 to be exact. And you're telling me that um, the Parthenon could have been built. And look, that's the layout basically of how it was originally. That's the exterior. You cannot convince me at all that this was built out in the 1800s. Now, if you look at the the Latins, yeah, absolutely. This would definitely be their gig. And this is an actual photo of the Parthenon, of the Parthenon, of there was a pyramid there. Oddly enough, a beautiful pyramid, several buildings, and a way you could raise up and look over this place. And yeah, the few people standing in the doorway here, there's a man, but it's basically depopulated. And then there's this Parthenon here. And this is in the late 1800s. It was taken before a lot of these buildings were demolished. The only one that stands really of any note is the Parthenon. Thank goodness they didn't demolish it. Thank goodness. So yeah, all of these other beautiful buildings were taken down. They say it was for a World's Fair, and I can tell you, I don't care what it's for. I don't care if it's for a Disney park or something. America in the 1800s, mind you, we declared ourselves um, free from Britain. I don't know if it's our 1776 or their 1776. But if it's our 1776, we're fighting a revolution that's taken uh, treasury and people. It's taken both money and young men to fight that revolution, so they tell us. So our country in the 1800s is coming out of a war that drained us and several other wars that entertained us, and we didn't have the treasure or the talent to do any of this. And it's a shame, it's a shame, it's a shame that whoever's trying to cover all of this up did, in fact, destroy it all. So, in a sense, that is absolutely a heartbreak. But we do have um, one remnant, and then all throughout the cities, all throughout the Americas, you go to any glorious city, and you'll find the same kind of construction. So, it's the New World, City New World, and it's just there you go. The same Roman style, the same Latin style of construction is throughout the Americas. We can tell you that Brazil did not have the money to do this in the last 200 to 300 years, nor did they have the time and talent to do it. So, yeah, we are keeping an eye on that. And Yes, there is a story that's been kept from us, and the the best question of all is how did they get here? And that is, oops, they got there. Oops, let me see if I can find my map that I may have closed that has the Panama Canal. Nope, there it is. All right, so here, the Panama Canal is way older than the 19th century. You can see it right there. And if you look at the aerial photography or satellite imagery, you can see where it's been filled in over time with sediment. It's highly enriched green, and it follows the exact same path that this does. So this map is very, very accurate. It's so accurate that it has your measurements that you should take if you're someone crossing the land or somebody crossing the sea, and you have miles, Galician miles, maritime Galician and Hispanic miles. Okay, Española, Española. So this is still in Latin and uh, maritime miles, Hispanica, and then Millare Anglica. And that's what tells me that in settling this, the Angles, the British got this, and then the Spanish or the Iberians, the Hispanics, and the Galicians got this part, which is this map right here. Because all of this area outside of the original settlement of Nova España and Nova Galicia was wild. All of this talks about wild beings. This area right here. And we'll go to read it right now. Um, there are cannibals who live in these mountains. The Guacujalus are people who walk naked, live in the forest, and are only interested in hunting. So they're not interested in doing business with the Latins. And it looks like that's how the Latins, uh, the Romans did their thing. They didn't do it by legions and by force invasion. They brought things to offer. And it looks like during the settlement of this, they took a lot of native people and civilized them into organized communities. And it didn't feel like they had any problem or any fear of outside people. So um, it would be interested to knowing how they actually did a colonization. I'm guessing they did it through kindness and opportunity, and that everything outside of their area of civilization was very uncivil. But we don't have any talk of the Aztec, but we do have the Aztec language being used to name all these villages. So the story could actually be that the Americas were dominated by savage people, and I don't know. I don't understand that. I don't understand that with our DNA and what have you. But take it as you will. And then the Latins came in and civilized and colonized the Americas for the last 2,500 years, is my bet. Because this looks like the work that 2,500 years of their sophistication could achieve without a problem. And understand that all of South America is also colonized and built out. Okay, so here are the ships for the humans. Not sure what the Latins used. I think they had a more sophisticated and technologically advanced form of travel. We'll be looking at that way later as we go down this pass. Oh, and Mexico. And there very well may be a chance of some very strong giants being involved in the process of being Latins. So these may not be savage Indians that we know of, cowboy Indians. This may actually be the look and feel of the giants that were part of the Latin community, if there were giants. But there's a lot of history of giants being in Europe. And then as you look at architecture from those times, there's a lot of buildings with massive doorways, including um, including let's see, where are you? Including here in Brazil. Again, this is Brazil with beautiful, beautiful architecture. I'm not going to say that. Yeah, I'm going to say it. They weren't capable of it. They just were not capable of it in the history that's been fed to us of the Americas, of it being a savage thing. And then suddenly the Spanish come in and they're able to build something like this. We didn't have the time, talent, or money to do that from a Spanish perspective if we go by the history we're given. Because once the Latins uh, left, then there was no protection for the Americas. The German Suevos came in. They were invited in to manage the Iberian Peninsula, and then came the invasion of the Moors. So, by the history that we've been taught, Spain never had time to develop a talent pool of builders and artisans that can do this work. If you were a man in the Iberian Peninsula in those times, you were either a soldier or a maritime sailor, or you're producing food. You're not building pretty buildings. You were supporting the wartime economy of Spain. That stopped until 1492. Then we went to colonizing. So all the men that were fighting then went to the Americas to colonize and to fight pirates and all that kind of stuff. Nope. And again, the massive entryway, the massive door. There's no need architecturally to do that. So these are interesting points and a story being dug out. Anything you can do, like the videos, share the videos, subscribe to the channel, and just help us get some more investigators on this, get some more eyes on this, and get to tell the real story of humanity and Latin America. All right, thank you all so much for being here. We'll see you tomorrow at 11 o'clock Eastern Time. Bye.